Hear the stories of men and women switching hustles and escaping the odds through entrepreneurship after prison. Not only will these stories inspire you, but also unlock business tips for financial freedom. Hey, I want to thank everybody for being patient with us. We about to get the show rolling. Thank you all for tuning in to Escaping the Odds, podcast where we interview the formerly incarcerated who are now successful entrepreneurs, kind of doing their own thing, trailblazers. And today we have Mrs. Kaysia Earley, who's the founder of and attorney of Earley Law Firm. She spent some time incarcerated, changed the whole situation around, and definitely want to be able to hear her story and also the things that she's doing right now within the criminal justice field. She is a defense attorney, and she's a beast. And so we want to hear some of her techniques, some of the laws, especially during this climate right now. It's crazy right now to be a black man, a black woman, and so she's definitely going to give us some tips to protect ourselves and protect our families in this climate. So thank you for joining today. How you doing?
I am blessed and highly favored. How are you? And well, how are you first, Aaron?
I'm well. Hey, we've been trying to do this for a minute now.
It's the best time to do it. And everyone that's on, I just implore you to just listen to what I have to say regarding your legal rights during a traffic stop, what you have to do, what you have to say when you get pulled over with the cop. And I want to just jump right into traps. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, go to my Instagram page. You'll see, I know it's backwards, but you'll see traps. These are your 5 basic legal rights when you encounter the cops.
Okay.
Yes, it's a setup, it's a trap, and you have to know your legal rights whenever you get pulled over. So T stands for don't get tricked. Officers will legally lie to you to obtain incriminating information. Don't believe the hype, okay? Argue or be respectful. Whether you're or wrong, arguing on the side of the road is not the place to do it. I tell people that all the time. Let me, your attorney, fight for you. It's not, being on the side of the road is not going to prove your manhood or your womanhood. So be respectful. And it's funny because in my comments, someone said, well, I'm not going to be respectful if they don't respect me. Well, guess what? It doesn't have to be reciprocated because a dead man can't talk. So humble yourself, respectful until you get out of that dangerous zone. And that dangerous zone is a racist officer coupled with a gun, a trigger happy officer.
Yeah.
So that's R. A stands for you have a right to a free attorney. People think that you have to have money to have an attorney. It's called a public defender. I used to be one. There's some good public defenders out there. And P stands for never give permission for an officer to search the house, your car, or your belongings. You're supposed, don't say don't search me though. I'm here to teach you legal knowledge. So you're supposed to say, I do not consent to this search. When you utilize legal terminology, a light bulb goes off in the officer's head. Now he knows what this person knows their rights. I can't get over on this person. So let me, back up a little bit. And then lastly, S, silence is golden. Someone told me I should switch the words around and call it strap instead of traps.
Okay.
Go first, but silence is golden. I was just watching First 48, how this man, you know how they
man. they talk themselves into a case.
They talk themselves 30 to life. That's what
yeah.
So please, silence is golden. Don't help the prosecutor with the case. Don't help the law enforcement with the case. Shut your mouth, remain silent, and let us, the criminal defense attorneys, fight for you.
Let me ask you a question, right? Why is it that you think that we feel the need to explain ourselves? Like we're going to explain ourselves out of a situation. I tell people all the time, like in their mind, they're trying to either book you for something or they at least think that you're involved or know something about something, right? In most cases, no matter what you want to say, they're going to do, quote unquote, their job and either write that ticket to you or try to find something on you. So why is it that you think that oftentimes we try to talk our way out of a situation and explain more than what we need to?
That's a good question, Aaron. You know why? Because it's in our human nature. You understand what? And then number 2, we're taught, okay, respect the cops, but then it's back and forth. But the problem is these officers, these law enforcement officers are on our side, but it's in our human nature to kind of want to explain ourselves. Even take cops off for a second. You can have friends tell lies on you. You can have family members lie and smear your name. We are kind of protect our name and our integrity. We want to talk ourselves, but the problem is anything you say or do can be used against you. That's your Miranda, right?
Right.
And don't give them that. And I'm telling you this from experience because you know that I was incarcerated before.
Right.
My case, I had no other choice but to take a plea because I gave them everything in the front.
Right.
And before I was a lawyer. And although I knew my rights, I got tricked because I was told if you tell me X, Y, and Z, we'll be lenient on you. But guess what? Officers don't have
power.
That's from the
Exactly. Right.
Empty promises about taking it easy on you. Once they file their probable cause affidavit and put together an investigation package, they take that entire packet, walk it over to the state attorney's office, and then they close their case until it's time to testify at trial.
Right.
Empty promises they're making, they just want to close their case. Yeah. So, you know, another thing they like to do? Oh, well, if you're not guilty, you would talk. No. I'm innocent, and I'm going to utilize my constitutional right.
Right.
Counsel. And
I want to ask you something as it relates to overcharging, because we see that often.
Yeah.
In most cases, they're going to try to throw as many charges on you, and of course, it's a ploy. And hopefully, if they charge you with 50 different cases, I'm being kind of exaggerating on that, but 50 different charges or whatever, right? And hopefully, as you go through the process, you're sitting in the county jail, and you're just trying to get out the county jail, right? And they may come with you and say, okay, we're going to dismiss 40. These 10 is going to stick. In your mind, you're like, okay, that's cool. You know what I mean? It's 40 charges that's being dismissed, but in actuality, those charges, if they would have went to trial, they probably wouldn't have stood. And so how are they able to do that, though? Like how are they able to overcharge you, you know what I'm saying, and get away with that?
In the great words of Spider-Man, too much power is given, right?
Right.
So much power, but there comes great responsibility.
Okay.
They have this power, and that power is not checked. Prime example, I'm in Florida, Broward County. The state attorney was in office for 44 years.
Yeah.
Oh, white guy, right? So historically, we just elected a black person in office. The problem is he allowed so many things to occur. He allowed the overcharging. He allowed violence for juveniles. He allowed charging for petty thefts instead of diversion programs. You understand what? Because the power that he had, no one checked him. No one voted him out of office. And we have so much power beyond voting. Okay, and this kind of segues into my next point about protesting, about boycotting. We have a platform. We all have a platform. If you have a social media account, I don't care if you have one follower, you have a platform.
Yeah.
You gain followers to start being. You be vocal now, not for yourselves, but other people centered. And that's what I'm doing. You know, I was but I realized I can't just reach the people in my backyard. I can't just reach the people in Broward County.
Yeah.
So whoever is willing to listen, not for me, but for my kids, for my poor black kids.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so how did you get to this point? As you stated already, you were incarcerated, and did you ever have in your mind that you would be the successful criminal defense attorney before your incarceration? So how did that? Walk us through that story. Like, how did that even come about? And even becoming a lawyer, you got people that it's hard for people to get a job, let alone an attorney, and let alone a defense attorney. So can you take us through that process?
I always wanted to be a lawyer. And when I was in the 4th grade, I actually wanted to be president. So what I did was I looked at all these presidents, and I realized that they all were lawyers. So that's how I wanted to become a lawyer.
Okay.
But when I got arrested in college, I thought that because you were arrested for a felony, you could never be a lawyer. So 7 years went by where I was just working as a paralegal, and I accepted my fate. Like, okay, I can't be a lawyer because I was arrested. And then one day, the lawyer that I was working for, that it was a possibility that I could be a lawyer, but I would have to go through law school. I would have to take the bar, and then after I did all that, I would have to sit before a board.
Okay.
Have to determine if I was ethical enough to become a lawyer. So I took the risk of having $250,000 in debt. I took the risk of taking the bar, and I was finally able to become a lawyer after I sat before the board, and they determined that I was, quote, rehabilitated and I was ethical.
Right.
But all the praise and glory goes to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because I know that if it had not been for the Lord, on my side, I wouldn't be here.
Definitely.
The beauty of it all is I have a ministry. So in addition to the trap cards that you all can get from Early Law from absolutely free, and I can mail you out an actual card, I do a ministry. It's called Weekly Wisdom. I have clients sitting in jail since COVID. We're not, and they're sitting. I get the letters. They're hopeless. They're losing faith in the system. They're losing hope. And to me, they're innocent, because the Constitution says you're innocent until proven guilty, right?
Right.
So they're just sitting there while the lawmakers in Tallahassee are determining whether or not they can reopen due to COVID. Yet we have the NBA going on, and we have resuming, but we can't have justice. So if you're not going to go to trial, at least let him out. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
All the way around to your question. So ultimately, I decided to become a criminal attorney because I was already on the other side of the law, and I had compassion, I had empathy, and I experienced it already. So that's where my drive come from. I was telling my paralegal, I had court today for a stand your ground motion, and I told her, once I walked that threshold of the courthouse, it's like, I turn into a different person. Okay, it's game time, and I ain't talking about baseball.
Right.
That is until proven guilty. And Your Honor, I will respectfully disagree with you. I will respectfully argue with the prosecution, because I fight, and it's a passion. So once you find out what your passion is, you'll do great.
And you mentioned stand your ground. You know, that became, well, at least popular on a national level with the Trayvon Martin situation. I won't even mention the guy's name, but with Trayvon Martin. And I know every state doesn't have a stand your ground kind of a law. So right now, it's crazy out here, right? I know in Chicago, they just passed it maybe a couple years ago where you can have a concealed carry, right? And that can open up a whole lot of issues with someone. You know, someone walk up on you and it's a threatening situation. So how do you, with this law, and I know every state is different, like how do you play that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you know when you can actually protect yourself in that situation without having to worry about spending the rest of your life in prison if you happen to kill someone in self-defense?
Okay, so in Florida, the stand your ground statute came into law in 2005, and then it was revised in 2015 and revised again in 2017. So today, court basically, my client, he was backing out of a parking space, and then he slightly grazed the vehicle to the right of him. And then when these other guy came to power over him and threatened him. So my client, since he invaded his personal space, punched him, and the guy kept taunting him, and he punched him again. So I was arguing to the judge, according to the statute, if you're in the right, you only have to meet 3 elements for stand your ground in Florida. You have to not be committing criminal activity, which he wasn't. Have to be in the place where you're lawfully supposed to be, which is a public place. That you have to be in fear of imminent harm or danger. If you meet those 3 elements, you can meet force with force, even deadly force. So I checked all of those elements. The judge did not make a ruling today. He's going to send a written opinion. But you know what? I'm going to say this. I'm going to be real. Can I be real for a second? As
always. Be real for more than a second.
Black attorney in a white male-dominated field, I felt that I walked away feeling that I had a great case. I made a great argument, but I walked away feeling that if I was white, I would have a better chance of winning. And I'm going to tell you why. Because as an African-American female that has represented over thousands of clients at this point, and has gone to trial, there's times I still walk into court, and they assume that I'm a victim. They assume that I'm a clerk. They assume that I'm a court reporter. They never assume that I'm an attorney. And that has everything to do with my look. That has everything to do with my skin.
Yeah.
So that now I have to, it's like I always have to do double. I have to increase more than my counterpart.
Yeah.
And this is why diversity on the bench, this is why diversity in the legal field is very important, because we know that Black men, number one, are disproportionately sentenced, and there's a huge disparity in, and that's because more white judges, there's more white prosecutors.
Right.
Them away. So my goal, in addition to encouraging my clients who's sitting in jail, is to inspire them Black girls and Black boys to be in a position of power.
Right. Let me ask you this also. What's the difference between being detained and being arrested?
Excellent question. Okay. Being detained is the officer allowed to question you if they have a reasonable suspicion, right? Mm-hmm. And that suspicion, if the reasonable suspicion blossoms into probable cause, then they're allowed to arrest you.
Now, that probable cause, could that be anything? Maybe they say they seen a marijuana roach in the ashtray. Is that probable cause?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, yeah, that's they don't even have to see it. Guess what? In Florida, all they have to do is smell it. So if you was in your vehicle yesterday and y'all had a weed smoke out party, right? And that weed smell is still in there, in Florida, you can have probable cause based on smelling. You know why I don't like that law? Because again, there's so many unethical cops. I've had them in trial. I had to tear them up on because they lied. Yeah. You approach me and you say you smell some marijuana. Guess what you can do? You can order me out my car.
Right.
You can search my vehicle, and you dirty cop can plant stuff in my vehicle, right?
Yeah.
You may not smell marijuana, but you come to trial. Let's say you planted a knife, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm charged with possession of a weapon because I was a prior convicted felon, whatever. But you never smelled that marijuana. How can I prove as a defense attorney that you smell marijuana?
You can't.
But you know how we could change that? The only way that law can be changed is through lawmakers. We vote these. I'm talking about local politicians. Everybody's so hung up on the Trump, Biden. Really? They hung up on the Trump, Biden. Nobody votes in their local elections. We just had a local election in August in Broward County. 1 million registered voters and only 220,000 people voted. Shame on y'all. Ones that post stuff on social media.
So what's your thoughts with everything that's going on in Wisconsin, the latest situation with that, and how could he have? I mean, he did everything he's supposed to done, I believe. You know what I mean? I think that they're just trained to kind of just look at us as a threat. So if you're caught in that situation and you're trying to minimize the chance of you being injured, shot, killed by an officer, what would you tell Mr. Blake if you had the opportunity to talk to him before all this happened?
I would tell Mr. Blake, hopefully he would be a white man next time, in the next life. Because look at the videos on social media. The only reason it sound like that is because he was a Black guy. Don't tell me he was aggressive, and do not tell me that you was in fear of your life, even if excessive too much, right? So let's break that down. Excessive use of force. Excessive, that means too much. Would he have been justified with one shot? I still say no. That's why they give out tasers. That's why they give out handcuffs.
Right.
These cops are shooting to kill. We know that. And then you look at another video, and then the white guy, God bless you, the white cop is running from the white guy, right? Now, let's compare that to Mr. Rittenhouse, who not only openly carried his gun, 17 years old, but he killed 2 people, injured 1. And he was allowed, they never arrested him. They never even detained him, right? You know, you have different levels of being detained by officers. You have the consensual contact, right?
Okay.
Casual conversation, you can walk away. You have detained, then you have probable cause that leads to an arrest. They didn't even do the consensual contact. Everyone's pointing him out, saying that he was the one, and that bothered me. And it's getting to the point where, what can we do as a society? What could Blake do? Well, they haven't even told us what the reasonable suspicion was that allegedly blossomed to probable cause. Because according to the reports that I'm reading, he was breaking, right?
Yeah.
So how did that happen, and how did that escalate to being arrested? Yeah, we have to wait for all the facts and evidence to occur, but we don't have to wait for the facts and evidence to see that he was shot excessively by those policemen.
So also with I was incarcerated, as you know, for a little bit over 9 years in federal prison, right? And a lot of cases that I was seeing was illegal search and seizure, right? They pull them over, they find kilos of cocaine or whatever, marijuana in the car, and so they're fighting that to try to get back in court, trying to beat that situation or suppress the evidence that came from that illegal search and seizure, right? And so how does that work? First, explain to the audience what is illegal search and seizure, and how is that something that can be avoided?
Okay, so that's the P in traps.
Got you.
Traps. That's your Fourth Amendment right. So the U.S. Constitution, the Fourth Amendment right, read it, research it. It states that no person should be subject to unreasonable search and seizure, right? So the only time an officer is allowed to search your vehicle without a warrant is if they have probable cause through the smell. And that the only way that they can legally search your vehicle is through consent. Right. So if you tell the officer, and here's the thing, most officers, this is Florida now, most officers are supposed to have a body cam. So you have to verbalize that you do not consent. And another way that they can search your vehicle, or not search, but incriminating evidence, is through plain view. If it was a plain sight.
Okay.
I don't tell my clients to break the law. I just tell them the law. You can do what you want with it.
Right.
But if you're hiding dirty, for God's sakes, don't you think it should go in the armrest or the glove compartment? Why do you have junk out there like that? Yeah. And I'm so against marijuana arrest because we live in the United States of America. But how is it that certain states legalize marijuana? They're criminalizing a drug that is predominantly known. But they say the opioid crisis. Oh, it's a crisis. Let's rehabilitate them. Right. But marijuana, crack, it was a black drug. So this is why I'm to the point where, honestly, I thank God that I am a lawyer, but I feel like it's time for me to elevate and do something else. Whether it's in Congress or whether it's a judge, I've done the thing. I've done tried every case but a murder trial. Yeah. And the only difference between murder and a battery is a dead body, a battery and
right. Hey, and to be honest with you, a person probably got a better chance of being acquitted from a murder case than they do from a battery. At least, you know, there's no one that can actually come to court and say you did it. But so what makes a good attorney? So if I get arrested, what are some of the things I should be looking for in that attorney?
First of all, you better Google your attorney. Y'all can Google me right now.
Yeah.
No matter what state you're in, go to the Florida bar and find out whether or not that attorney has had any adverse rulings against them for anything unethical. And you me out about people an attorney. They never research them. They never ask them about their qualifications. And I told you, I've represented over thousands of clients. No one has ever asked me, by the way, can I see your law degree? I had a client who the guy was disbarred, mind you. Yeah. And he came to me because he kept saying, Miss Earley, he's not picking up my call. I need another attorney. All I had to do is Google his name. The man was disbarred, still called the guy for his money. Wow. But we do research on what we want to buy, all these name brand clothes and shoes. But this is a big investment. An attorney doesn't come cheap. A private one. Right. About 5 bands on an attorney, but you don't do research to see how many. And half of these attorneys don't even try cases. And don't you dare get a real estate attorney for a criminal case. Wow. Yeah. It's just a miseducation. I can think back in my own situation
I could think back in my own situation, just feeling powerless, you know, not knowing. You just pretty much listening to them like a god, like whatever they're saying. Especially if you got a serious situation going on, you feel like it's a serious situation. It's like you just like, hey, get me out of this situation. You know what I mean? And they know that, and I think they play on that, you know. And in my opinion, I think they swap cases out. They may not do it directly, but that's their colleagues, the prosecutors, right? So they may let one slide. You know what I mean? And for the next one, hey, I got you on that one. You know what I mean? And so, have you came across situations like that where you kind of know that they're kind of playing with each other?
I don't play with these prosecutors. What happens is I win so many cases that they plot against me. So one of my clients, I got him off from a very serious charge, but the other charge, he took probation.
Yeah.
In a few weeks, he violated probation. So that was that prosecutor's opportunity to kind of get back at me. Mm-hmm. So the first thing she told me, because she was bitter that I won trial with the other case, she said, I'm going to throw the book at your client because you're representing him. Now, that's unethical, right?
Wow.
So you know what I told my client? I gave him back his money. I said, go hire a white guy. I said, because you don't stand a chance with me because she has the power right now because he was caught red-handed. So he was going away. Don't white guy he hired, she knew him. All she did was reinstate his probation.
Wow.
That's what I did. Little did she know that I was still secretly not on his case, but I knew she was going to do that.
Right.
And so I was there. She reinstated his case, and I checked her on that. And I reminded her what you said. I said, well, what happened to you throwing the books at my client? And I reported her to the bar.
Hey, you mentioned something earlier about most lawyers, they don't really try cases, right? And I've noticed that as well. And so what ends up happening is that these cases get plead out. But if you can talk about the collateral consequences as it relates to copping out or taking a plea deal, because every plea deal isn't bad. Sometimes you caught red-handed. It's like, hey, look, make the best situation for me, right? But what are some of those things that a person should be negotiating within a plea deal if they decide not to go to trial?
Well, here's the thing. I always tell my client, the lawyer is always supposed to put their client in the best position possible. And sometimes not winning. Sometimes the best position is, you know what? You were, like you said, you were caught red-handed. There's evidence. You're looking at life. That's going 5 years in prison because you told on yourself. You didn't. I don't make promises, first of all. Okay. The only promise I do make is I will leave my heart on the podium. If I feel like you got a fighting chance, I will fight for you to the very end. I will research your case. I will stay up countless hours until I know that I'm fully prepared to argue the case. Not even prove, because that's the state's burden, but to dismantle the state's burden to show on a reasonable doubt guilty. And I can say unequivocally that in 6 years, I have never lost a trial that my client went to prison. And I'm going to keep on that track. So when you put years in something.
Yeah. So is there anything I should be looking for in that plea deal, or something I just shouldn't even sign for? Like, just kind of like general.
First of all, read it. Read it. I have a client, he didn't read it. What he did was he listened to what the public defender told him. Okay, no problem. Okay, you tell me this. He signed it, and it ended up being a conviction on his record rather than a withhold of adjudication, meaning when you're convicted of a felony, you lose your voting rights, and you have to go through that whole restoration process.
Right.
Assumed that the conviction would have been withheld had he read it. And then sometimes in a plea colloquy, the judge says, do you have any questions? Don't you know? Because he could have appealed that plea if he would have asked the proper questions, and the judge would have said, yeah, it's not going to be a conviction. But that plea is, like you said, the collateral consequences is several, from not having a job to having a record that follows your life. So taking a plea is a very big deal. Don't just cop out. And especially innocent, there's so many innocent people incarcerated, but if you know you're innocent, don't take that plea.
Right. I mean, oftentimes I mean, definitely. Oftentimes, I believe that the county jails are terrible, right? And I believe it's set up that way because most people they just want to get out the county jail and go downstate or upstate or wherever they're at and just go do their time. You know what I mean? And so that pressure is kind of put on them to kind of cop out because the conditions are so poor inside of there. When you go downstate, it could be a little bit better, right? So less of two evils. And so they like, you know what? Whatever they give me, I'm just gonna cop out to it, right? And a lot of times, what's happening is that they may not be totally innocent, but at the same time, they're copping out to charges that will, again, as we talked about earlier, like they're overcharged, and so they're copping out to stuff that they ain't even do. You know what I mean? Maybe they did, maybe an underlying offense, but not everything else.
That the state can't even prove. And let me tell you how bad the prosecution is. They are so unethical. The prosecutors that I've dealt with, there's times when I know that they can't prove their case, and they wait until the jury, right before the jury walks in, stop the charges. Now, what if I was an attorney and didn't fight? And that is so wrong. And they ask, how do I represent someone who allegedly committed a crime? No, how do you sleep at night? Because I represent someone who said that they, who allegedly did commit the crime. I'm their voice. I never said that they was innocent or guilty. Jury goes back and they render a verdict. So the way I sleep, take it up with the Constitution and the Founding Fathers who said that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But that's not the case.
Right, definitely.
By the way, I'm guilty because got guilty.
Hey, briefly, right? Just in case a person decides to go to trial, whether it's for a traffic ticket or it's for a first-degree murder case, right? What's that jury process like for them? The difference between a bench trial and taking it to the 12 jurors.
So I and don't plan on to having a bench trial for a criminal because a trial is the judge and the judge. So I always say, put me in front of a jury and take me to closing, and I got you because it's jury. It's me and you. I'm talking to people, everyday people. I'm not talking over your head. So the difference between the bench trial, you just talking to the judge, and then the judge makes his decision. But again, I got a white old man on the bench. For my black thug-looking client who got both fronts, and you think that he's a killer just because he decided to be different. Yeah, different becomes criminal. That because the dreads. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but that's a bench trial. Okay. Because if you try to sell anything, you might get 60 people, and that's called your jury pool. And then out of the 60, we talk to them for an hour. I talk to the for an hour. The prosecution talks maybe for an hour, and then we decide based on their response who we want to X off and choose. So and then we have to dwindle that down on the type of case you have to 7 or 12 jurors. Yeah. I remind my client whenever they're in trial, you're on stage. From the day of your trial, when you walk in through the security, you don't know if that's a potential juror in the back. And I kind of prep them that you are being analyzed. You are being looked upon, judged, simply by the way you look. So make sure everything you do is proper. Make sure your posture is correct. Like, it's a play. Yeah. And they hold the ending of the story. So the jury trial, I've done several of those. It's tedious. It's emotional. And wait for jury decision. And when they stand be the jury, my heart is just pounding out of my mouth. Because all is we the jury find the defendant not guilty. You know how many people embrace me with tears, and that means more to me than money. That's the greatest satisfaction, to know that my client is not going to jail. We walking out those doors together. Right.
Now, hey, look. Now, there's another kind of jury that most people in the public don't know about, and that's the grand jury. Now, I mean, I know a little bit about the law. Of course, I'm nowhere near the knowledge that you have as, being an attorney and things like that, but just my own experience in the system. That grand jury, at least in the federal system, your lawyer, just like how you was able to pick the attorneys or at least question those attorneys, Can you explain that grand jury process in general, whether it's state or federal? I think it's the same, but
I'll keep it in general.
yeah,
Basically, proceedings is completely closed off to the public, right?
yeah,
So oftentimes you don't even know how they go or how they do their selection process for the grand jury, and
right,
how that is not like a regular jury panel for a criminal trial. And then secondly, the rules of criminal don't apply as stringent as it does in a regular criminal case. So they're basically, the grand jury has the opportunity to ask questions, and then they come up with a determination whether or not um, an indictment should follow. So it is secret, it is closed off, and I also think that everything in the courthouse should be open to the. We
right,
need to, when we're talking about the lives and freedom of people, it needs to be transparent, and
yeah,
it affects I guess we as a people, we don't trust the system, we don't trust the cops,
mm-hmm.
because we've been disenfranchised for so long. We've been given the short-handed stick for so long that it comes a time that we have. That goes right back to education. That's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to educate my clients. I'm trying to educate civilians. I'm trying to use my platform to educate anyone that comes on. It can be used as entertainment, but what you're doing, your story, escape reality.
exactly,
Because we have to go down the wrong path, to go down the broad path, but we did something with our prior incarceration. You
right.
understand? It's to be commendable for what you did. We need to now share the knowledge, especially with our young ones.
No, definitely, and that's why I had you on. I wanted to have you on the show because I know that you're very knowledgeable, and you're a pit bull. You know what I mean? Like if
In the skirt.
hopefully, hopefully, I never ever have another criminal proceeding. Definitely not out of Florida, right? Because I know they try to hang you down there, right? But I will always refer you. You know what I mean? If I ever knew anybody in a Florida situation, to kind of pick you up, because I know you're gonna fight for them, right? And oftentimes we don't get that. You know what I mean? Especially, damn sure not with a public defender in most cases, and even with paid attorneys. You know, they kind of sucking your money away. But what's next for Kaysia and the Earley law firm? What's going on? Well, what do you have planned on top of the trap cards and stuff like that? What can we expect from you?
Well, I just partnered with the law firm. Like I told you, I'm at a transition phase where I've done side, but I'm transitioning more to civil rights activism. I've always been.
Okay.
I went to Howard University.
All
Okay,
right.
so when we didn't like something in the administrative building, we didn't like the food that they served. All we had to do was protest, and then we got
Right.
what we
Right.
wanted: Chick-fil-A style chicken nuggets.
Right.
So I'm transitioning more into civil rights activism, and like I told you, like I alluded to earlier, I'm considering running for either a judicial position, Judge Earley, bring to it,
Okay. Go ahead. Speak that.
or and remember, heard it here first, or somewhere political.
Okay.
Right, and the reason I said I don't know is because God's timing is perfect. But until then, I'm going to continue to fight as a criminal defense attorney. Be selective of the cases that I take, and whoever has me as an attorney, they don't even know how favored they are.
Yeah.
It comes from the Lord, and I always say God gives me wisdom to do what I do, and He takes away the fear.
Yeah.
Fear is so crippling and so paralyzing that if fear dominates you in anything that you do, you won't. That's why we don't have a lot of entrepreneurs. You know, fear of losing money, fear of time, fear of
Yeah.
so,
Hey, fear of going to trial when you know you're innocent.
look.
Exactly.
When Miss Early says she ready for trial, you better know that. I ain't calling
Better go ahead, suit up, right?
she ready.
So, hey, so how can we get those trap cards out to people across the nation? How do we do that?
Okay, so all you have to do is DM me. Go to Early Law Firm. Hit me in DM. Send me your email address. I'll send you the electronic version, or send me a mailing address, and I will mail you cards. And
Okay.
those cards, you have my bio, and you also have your TRAPS ambassador letter. And that's basically thanking you for being a TRAPS ambassador, that you will agree to continue to spread the word and each one teach one. So
Right.
hit me and those cards. Now we mailed for maybe 300 this week, and Mail it out almost every day. So whoever
Okay.
wants, that's completely at the expense of Early Law Firm, because
Okay.
God will bless me.
Yeah, definitely. I need something down here in Chicago for sure. I can pass them out within my network.
Hit me in the DM, text me
Gotcha.
your email address, and I'm gonna mail you out a bunch.
Okay, definitely. Well, look, thank you, definitely thank you for coming on. We appreciate all of the information that you provided to us. Y'all continue to follow her at Early Law Firm. Continue to follow me at Escaping the Odds podcast. This is going to be actually replayed on the Anchor app in probably a couple weeks. YouTube, you can find all my videos on escapingtheodds.com. That's escapingtheodds.com. Again, the YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, pretty much everywhere. I'm everywhere. So definitely continue to support us on this journey of criminal justice reform and just change the narrative of what people believe a formerly incarcerated person looks like and what they can do after their incarceration. So I definitely salute you for all the moves that you're making down there in Florida, and definitely looking forward to seeing you advance in your political career. So definitely let's continue to support.
And without me speaking a blessing over you, I just want to say, you know, I appreciate what you're doing. And there's so many people inspired by my story, but we had a connection from the first time we talked, and I'm so
Right.
proud of you. I want to say,
Thank you. I
continue.
appreciate that.
Don't get weary in well doing. I love my
Yeah.
brother. And don't forget a sister when you blow up, okay?
Hey, I'm definitely not. We blowing up together. We meet each other at the top.
Yes.
Definitely meet each other at the top. Well, again, thank you for coming on. I want to thank everybody who's listening and watching. Continue to support, like, comment, and just continue to support what we're doing. Thank you again, and we'll see you guys soon, probably next week. If you guys know of any stories of any men and women who were formerly incarcerated that's really doing their thing in the business field, definitely get at us at escapingtheodds.com. Drop me an email, drop me a DM, Escaping the Odds Podcast. Thank you all again. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, take care.
Okay.